Hello everybody, welcome back to Fantasy Sports Review. I'm Phil Hargis. It's good to see you guys again. Welcome back to the show. Just before we get started here with all of our fantasy football stuff and everything, getting you ready for the regular season and your drafts and everything, as you know, we're big gamblers here on the show. We love going out in the horse races. We cover all the horse racing events for you. And then in the off season, when we have time, we do maybe some fantasy baseball stuff. But we also like to cover the poker, the World Series of Poker and professional poker and the world of poker and gambling. It's very near and dear to our hearts here. We've had great guests in the past, like Adam Levy, Ruthless, we had last year from you after his top World Series of Poker finish. And we've had Lee Childs in the past as sort of our expert in-house analyst, and Tom Turley, who unfortunately can't be with us today, our local Fantasy Sports Review poker coverage. But we do have a special guest for you. His name is Bryan Devo Devonshire. He is a very accomplished poker player from Las Vegas, and he's lived in a couple other locations as well. He's a huge San Francisco Giants fan. Bryan just recently cashed 12th in the 2011 World Series of Poker main event, which is, as you know, out of thousands and thousands of people, I think it was like 5,000 or 6,000 people. It's just an amazing accomplishment. So we have Bryan's off in the mountains of Colorado right now, and we are going to bring him in here right now to tell us a little about about himself and the World Series of Poker and about all the awesome stuff that this guy does, because this guy really does do it all. So, hey, Bryan Devo Devonshire, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on the program.
Hey, Phil. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Thanks for joining us, man. I know you're out in Colorado. Tell us what you're doing out there and how you spent your day today.
Well, I'm working at a dude ranch out in Colorado, middle of nowhere, south central Colorado, about 9,000 feet right here. And we've got like 45 head of horse on the ranch, and we do everything from 2-hour trail rides to 5-day-long pack trips up in the high country. So my day was a little bit relaxed today. We didn't have any rides going out, but we do have 18 customers coming in and staying at cowboy camp, so we were getting ready to cook them up dinner and all that sort of stuff. So marinating like 30 ribeyes and getting beer and tuning guitars, having music around the campfire, and killed a little time climbing the rock over here by the ranch. So it's been a good day.
Now that's awesome. So what's the name of the ranch that you're at right now, in case somebody says that sounds really cool and they want to come out there and try it?
Yeah, it's called Bear Basin Ranch, and the business end is Bear Basin Pack Trips. You can look that up online at bearbasinpacktrips.com. And yeah, it's a little piece of heaven. I could be anywhere in the world I wanted to be right now, and I choose here for my second year in a row. I've been around this area since 2003, and I mean, it's just the best way to decompress after 7 long weeks of a grueling World Series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to go out. Now, did you also like to go out and seek refuge out there in the wilderness and with the wildlife in preparation for your World Series of Poker? Also, is that sort of your therapeutic getaway there as well?
Yeah, I like to do that before. I mean, the World Series is just like tax season for accountants. I mean, I average 80 to 100 hours a week for 7 weeks straight. So you got to be, and fired up and healthy and ready to go, and you got to be able to take some time off, because there's no way I'd be able to play my best right now because, I'm on vacation. That's right, man. You got to, and it's a well-deserved vacation. I know you told me just a few minutes ago before we started the show that you're going to be out there for, anywhere for a couple more weeks to maybe even a couple more months. And yeah, it's basically just, until I'm ready to go back. Vegas is hotter than hell right now, and there's no chance I would be out there, and that's kind of what spurred it all. When I moved to Vegas in 2006, I experienced August, and I swore that I'd never do that again. So I always just try to get out of Dodge after the series and through August.
Well, that's good that they could put the World Series of Poker in the middle of summertime in there to keep you guys in those nice air-conditioned casinos. How'd you get into all this outdoorsy? Was it like Boy Scouts or something as a kid, or were you just always around the outdoors? How'd you get into that, man?
Well, I've always been kind of a nature boy and doing all that sort of stuff, but I started working at a camp called Forest Home in Southern California in the summer of 1999. That started getting me into the industry, and I was working with this church, and they wanted to start a whitewater rafting program, so they sent me to whitewater rafting guide school, and then they offered me a job, which I accepted, and this company out here in Colorado, just across the valley in the same county, they said, if you come out and try to start a whitewater rafting program, we'll train you and everything else. So I dropped out of college to do that and came out here, and they taught me everything else and fell in love with the area.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, you also got into the You also got involved with some kind of ministry. Now, are you actually an ordained minister or a preacher or pastor or anything like that, or were you just involved with the ministry?
No, I was never ordained or anything like that, but I did work several youth ministering gigs. I directed a junior high youth group at Bel Air Presbyterian Church in LA, and I did a junior high school program out here in Colorado Springs, 04 and 05.
Okay, you don't do anything like that to teach young kids how to play poker, do you?
No, but I certainly use poker to supplement my income in between.
Yeah, and it's certainly has supplemented your income quite well this year. How'd you get into poker? Were you part of the whole moneymaker thing and rounders and all that around 03? Is that when you got into it pretty much like a lot of the other guys, or do you have a different story?
Well, I got into it because my dad ran a home game and had family and friends over, and we played nickel, dime, quarter, and all the dumb games,
Follow the plan.
as long as I can remember. So it's about when I was 13 years old or so that he let me start playing, and pretty sure I never lost. Then I turned 18 and started hitting up the Indian casinos in LA and that area, and I went to school at USC, and I discovered online poker then. I played on Planet Poker in '99 and started Paradise Poker in 01 or so. Oh
wow! So you were really before the poker boom then.
Yeah, Jimmy Bricky calls me an old man.
You are by online poker standards. I do know that you have a reputation for really being one of the most liked guys out there, and you have a lot of friends in the poker community, and nobody has a bad word to say about you. I know they emphasize that quite a bit on the ESPN coverage. What is it about you that you think really sets yourself apart from being so likable versus I hate to drop names, but maybe a guy like Mattisau that's not as well liked by a lot of people?
Well, I think before you can make other people happy, you really got to make yourself happy first. And poker has always been a means for me to be able to play in the woods, basically. And, I'm doing what I love, and I can do what I love because of poker. I think that there's a lot of people in poker that don't have anything outside of poker that instills happiness in them, that, makes them a happy person at the core. And so then when they're playing poker and losing their ass, they're pretty upset about life because that's what they got going on,
Yeah, the whole negativity thing, you see it so much in poker, especially with online. I mean, some people just will dwell on and forever and ever about their latest bad beat, or I can't believe the guy hit a 2-outer. I mean, there's just 90% of the players out there are so negative, and you can almost see it on the TV coverage with the World Poker Tour and the World Series of Poker, people calling for the cards that they don't want to come, and then sure enough what happens, the cards come. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, sick gamblers, but I mean, if there weren't bad beats, then not as many of us could have jobs.
So you actually, before you really start, it sounds like you've been playing a lot of poker since even before the boom and everything, but you also got into the casinos as a poker dealer too. So was that pretty easy? Just go to work for a couple hours, make a few bucks and tips, and then go grind it out on the table, go out to the tables, play some tournaments and cash games?
Well, I was never a dealer. When I moved to Colorado in January of 2003, I found the nearest place to play poker live, which was Cripple Creek, and they had a state law that said the maximum bet was $5. So the game was $2 to $5 spread limit hold'em. And I was up there playing, and someone at the table said, "Hey, are there any props at the table?" And I'm like, "What's that?" And they explained that it's a player that's paid by the house to be there on a certain shift, and your goal is to start games, get games going, keep games going. So I was like, wow, that sounds pretty sweet. I want to do that, little income supplement, and they paid $10 an hour plus health insurance, and I beat the game for $18 an hour, and it was a great way to get started. I took the hour-long bus ride from Colorado Springs up the hill and got books from the library and read them on the way up and back, and basically how I got my start.
What are some of your favorite poker books?
Oh, I can't even think about it anymore. I bet a lot of the ones I read back then I would disagree with now. I mean, the game's changed and evolved so much over the years, but I think my all-time favorite would probably have to be Barry Greenstein's Ace on the River, because it just talks about living as a professional and that aspect of life rather than playing the game itself.
How How hard is it to make that transition to being a professional poker player? I mean, have you just been doing it for so long that it's almost even impossible to, money management and, managing your whole life and your travel and like your swings and everything like that?
Yeah, I've certainly learned a lot about it over the years. I mean, I've been technically professional since August of 2003 when I got fired from that guide job across the valley. I was playing like $2, $4 limit hold'em on party poker and had like $700 or $800 on the site, and that was plenty because the games were just so juicy back then.
Oh, they were great.
Yeah, so I learned a lot of lessons over the years, and have to keep learning and keep staying ahead, especially with how competitive the game's gotten in the last several years.
It's hard to keep up with, but you just see the younger guys. You really were one of the older players there, but the younger guys are just taking over this game, man. The 21, 22, and 23-year-olds are, the majority of the guys you'll see at a lot of the final tables these days. So let's get into your World Series of Poker history. You started playing the series back in around 2006.
Well, I started playing tournaments in 2006. I guided on California rivers in like 04 and 05. So I would drive from Colorado and I'd go to the series and play cash games for like a week, and then I'd head out to the river. But I didn't play my first tournament until 06, and first tournament went pretty well. I took second place in that one.
So you know how it is when you get your first cash in your first tournament. You're like, all right, this ain't so hard, and you get back to it, and you've obviously been very successful on the tournament front for since that time for the last 5 or 6 years. So you've cashed 11 times for $850,000 according to the World Series of Poker website there, and you're a versatile player. You've cashed in hold'em games, 7-card stud games, Omaha, and horse. So you're obviously a very well-rounded player. Do you like one of the events the best more than the other? Is it hold'em, or do you like some of the other games better?
I certainly love the other games more, and like one, it's just more fun, it's something different, and two, as you add cards and add information, the skill gap just widens immensely. Hold'em has been solved pretty well by the internet superstars in the last 8 years. But you put them in a game with a whole bunch of new cards, like it really brings out who the actual card player is and who's the person that just figured out hold'em.
Yeah. So have you played in the? You played in the horse. Have you played in the 50K yet?
No, I've never played in it. I've definitely wanted to, but part of money management is game selection. I mean,
right.
It doesn't matter how bad you are. If you always play against people worse than you, then you're going to be winning the money. And I just feel like the 50K isn't exactly a good enough spot. With bankroll management, like a lot of it has to do with return on investment. Like how often you're going to be winning and stuff, and when you're playing against tougher players, like that just naturally has to decline, and might even be negative, like if you're playing against people that are all better than you. So it's just the skill gap is so narrow at the top of the game, and it's hard to find an edge there.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, unless you finish really high in the money order, as obviously you're probably well aware, but maybe some of the viewers aren't aware. You really have to finish high on the money scale to really make a good return on your investment in the tournament. So, are you one of those guys that also subsidizes quite a bit of your play through the cash games too, or do you kind of focus mostly on tournaments?
Yeah, I guess over the course of my career, I've been pretty well balanced between cash and tournaments. I mean, I was exclusively cash until about 2005 or so. I mean, I dabbled in it online and stuff, but I used to think that tournaments were a way to stick my butt in the chair so I could play cash games longer, because, I'd get all antsy, and after an hour or so I'd want to go do something. But if I had a tournament going, then I had to keep playing the cash games. So I was exclusively tournaments for a while. I'm kind of getting back to somewhere in the middle. And again, it's just all about game selection. You just want to find the best spot you can and generate the highest hourly.
Yeah, the cash in the early to mid 2000s, it seemed like it was really easy to come by, and like you said, it's just gotten tougher and tougher to come by of late as people have quote mastered hold'em as you're talking about. So let's go ahead and get you to the main event this year. What was your mindset going in, and tell us a little bit about your run there?
Well, the mindset going in was kind of amusing. I mean, it was this one long downward spiral from Black Friday, just figuring out how I'm going to make a living now. Like, I felt like I was really thrust back to like 2005. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Then I had a really rough preliminary series and lost a whole bunch of money, and my bankroll dwindled to about $25,000 or so. So I had sold out 40% of my series going into the main event, but just didn't want to put up $5K of a $25K bankroll, so I sold another 20% and then swapped out 6%. So I only had 34% of myself, which is still stretching bankroll management, especially with the size of the field. But I mean, the main event is so juicy, I think that you've always got to be taking some sort of shot at that event.
Would you mind? Are you able to explain to us and the viewers like how that works? Like, how do you go about like either shopping a share of you around? I mean, is it just friends in the community and you just go approach them and say, I want to sell a portion of it, or is that something?
Yeah, the way I do it is I'll do it through Twitter often. Just say like, hey, I'm selling pieces to this event. I charge a markup, which is like a vig on the money. So like for my World Series, I charged just over 1.3 to 1. So I was on the schedule for 62,000 in events, and $800 would buy 1%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I also use the 2+2 marketplace for that one. That's a pretty good spot to sell stuff, but you know, it all depends on your resume and your reputation and stuff like that. And
sure,
I will pass up on the most skilled players if I don't trust them, because you know, the people investing in me have to be confident that after I cash for $607,000, that I'm going to write them the check for $180,000. So.
Yeah, there definitely has to be sort of that sort of reputable trust between the players and the investors. I can certainly see that with that kind of money on the line, because there are stories of people that have cashed really high, you know, allegedly, not mentioning names, that has been a problem with in the past.
Yeah.
So so did Black Friday, and we'll get to Black Friday here in a minute after we finish hearing about your 2011. But did that do anything to affect the fields, would you say, at this year's World Series of Poker, or is it impossible to draw any correlation between the two?
I mean, it's all speculation. Just like everything about Black Friday has been, everyone thought numbers would decline, and numbers were higher across the board. I don't know if that was an effect of poker growing, or if that was an effect of people not being able to play online, so hey, I might as well go to the series. But certainly there wasn't as much money locked up as everyone was afraid there was going to be.
Yeah, I was somewhat surprised that the field size of the main event, I don't remember the exact numbers, I don't have it in front of me, 6,500 maybe?
6,800 and change.
6,800 and change. I mean, that's a lot of players, especially considering that a lot of the sites that did get shut down on Black Friday didn't have their satellites, which would have just pumped hundreds, if not thousands, of more players into the main event.
Yep.
So so you get in the main event. You've sold your shares and everything, and you sign up for day one of the event. And how did it start off? Did you start off with like a ton of chips right off the bat? Did you grind it out for a couple days, or was it easy or a hard road to like make it on and on to days 5 and 6? And
well, day one was kind of absurd for me. I didn't have a good table at all. Just one guy that bluffed every single time had it the one time he bluffed against me because he wasn't bluffing. But so I ended the day with like 21,000 or so, and that's no big deal because the structure is just so deep and the levels are so long that still have plenty of big blinds and stuff. I think that people freak out about the average stack way too much. Average stack is pretty irrelevant unless you're getting really deep.
So day one's kind of a grind. I mean, I guess a lot of people just go out there, they show up, and I mean, obviously Helmuth is well documented as a guy that doesn't even show up for like half the day, just fold and fold, and it's just I guess they say you can't win it on the first day, but you can certainly lose it. Yeah,
the object for day one is to make it through.
So then, then the next couple of days, did you start building from there, or was it still a bit of a struggle, or?
Day two, I came back with another pretty brutal table. I had Don Friedberg and Matt Jarvis 1 and 2 to my left. I had Corey Albertson to my right, and everyone else at this table knew what they were doing. So we're all just kind of looking at each other like, what the heck, man? So they finally broke our table, second or third level of day 2, and it was fascinating watching all of those name chip stacks, because by the end of the day, we all had piles.
Nice. And there's actually a really good picture that we have that I'm edited into the show of you and this really cool castle you built. Looks like a bridge, literally, with a couple of columns of your chips there. I'm not sure if that's from the series or not, but it's a cool picture anyway. And it's just one of the things you can do to entertain yourself while you're sitting there at the tables. So at what point are you like near the top of the chip leads there, and you know you're going to be able to make a deep run?
I think that happened, let's see, I ended day 2 with like, I can't remember. It's all on Twitter. But
yeah. Well,
I think I ended day 2 or 3 with like 130K, and that kind of put me up near the top of the list. And yeah, it was pretty much off to the races from there. I was in the top 5 or 10% for the whole rest of the tournament. And
you just played smart from there. So let's get you down to like the final couple tables there. ESPN was doing ESPN 2, I guess, or ESPN 3. We're doing some great coverage of that poker, which was live, but the live was really with a 30-minute delay, if I remember correctly. Yep. So I know that I believe it's Ben Lamb was pretty well documented as getting information from this 30-minute delay on ESPN, either from other players' Twitter feeds or from his friends that were watching. And I even heard that somebody was getting, foreign language translations of the results of the play with this 30-minute delay. Was that some information that you were able to take advantage of, or did you?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're missing out if you don't take advantage of it. Twitter is something that's pretty consistent. Like, if I get moved to a table and know names of people, I just instantly start following them. I think that people give away way too much information on Twitter, and you might as well take advantage of it. Every night when they do the seat redraws, I do my homework. I draw like a little table diagram and write the names and chip counts, and then I start looking people up. Yeah, so that means I had to end day 2 with a bit of a stack, because we had that day off, and I had Galen Hall and Jeffrey Forrest on my table, who I've played with a bit, but they both won major tournaments in the last year that were televised, which meant that I had like 6 hours of video that I got to watch on these 2 guys.
Wow.
You can look up on Google, you can look up on the Hendon Mob, and it really just gets you an idea of where these guys are coming from, what they might be thinking, and it helps you get into their head. Especially these guys that like post on the forums. I wonder if like people took advantage of me at all with Poker VT and all the training videos that I've made. But it's just getting to be like major sports where there's a lot of information out there, and the player that does the most homework is going to have the more information.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The research definitely pays off, and you made a great run, and Did you get card dead there towards the end, or just running some tough seat, or how'd your last couple of hands there go?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely thought back over how things went and how they could have gone. I'm pretty firmly convinced that there isn't anything more that I could have done. The hand that I went broke on, I had King Queen and the Irishman. What's his name?
O'Day?
Yeah, O'Day, he raised and he was super active, and I suited King Queen in like 3.3 million, which was 11 big blinds, and easy shove there, but I would have shoved up like 7 million on him there. So
right.
Like any sort of fine tuning that I'd done along the way, like I still go bust on that hand.
So you go bust out, you cash for 607K. Did you get to walk out of the casino with that much cash, or did they give you a cashier's check, or how does that work?
Well, I took a check for 507, and I took 100 in cash. And my buddy Mac, who's in the guard, just got back from Afghanistan, and he escorted me over to the Bellagio, and I put it straight in the box and put the check in the bank and hit the road to Colorado.
Right on, man. Sounds great. Okay, so we got about 2 minutes left here, Bryan. I just want to get your thoughts on the final table here. You played with all these 9 guys in November 9, obviously. Stasko is your leader with 40 million, O'Day 33, Giannetti 24. If I'm going too fast, Collins 23, Lamb 20. Benara 20, Hines 16, Makievsky 13, and Sam Holden at 12. The blinds are 250 and 500K. You got a winner in there, man?
It's so hard to pick. I mean, 6 of these guys are just stud all-star sickos. I don't ever want to have them on my left. Like, all those guys in the top, they all have a legitimate shot. I mean, I guess I'd have to call the chip leader the favorite.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're all so good.
I like the way that Giannetti was playing from what I saw.
Yeah, I've known him for a while, and he's one of the nicer guys out there, and, you know, he's super good, so.
So that's cool, man. Well, we're going to go and wrap things up with you, man. Thanks for joining us on the show. You can follow Bryan Devo at devopoker.net. He writes a great blog there, and he's really well with his words. Bryan, is there anything else you want to talk about or you wanted to pump up here before we let you get back to rock climbing and your new group of 18 friends that are coming in tonight?
No, I'm going to go have a beer and a steak and a great night.
I think a beer and a steak sounds good to me too, man. Hey, buddy. Hey, thanks a lot for joining me on the show and talking about your series, man. Congratulations on the awesome cash, and we'll look forward to seeing more great things from you on the poker tables real soon.
Cool. Thanks for the time, Phil. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Bryan. We'll talk soon, buddy.
All right.
All right, take it easy, man. And guys, that was Bryan Devo Devonshire. He just cashed 12th of the World Series of Poker main event for 607K. He's a phenomenal guest. He runs these dude ranches in Colorado. If you want to go hang out and climb rocks and eat homemade cattle burgers there, it could be a lot. I think it's called Bear Basin in Colorado. If you need more information, just get back in touch with me at hargis.phil@gmail.com. I'll be happy to get you that information. Bryan really is truly one of the great guys of poker there. He's certainly somebody that you hopefully get a chance to sit down on the poker tables. If you're ever out in Vegas, look him up. He'll probably be at the Bellagio or one of the other poker rooms there in town. I'd like to thank Steve Mullen for directing and our entire engineering department here at FPA for getting this show completed. It was tough with some of the technical difficulties, but they did great, as they always do. And we'll be back with some fantasy football action for you guys as we get ready to start the preseason and all of our drafts and everything. And then we'll be back here in the studio with you guys next time on Fantasy Sports Review. Goodbye, everybody.